Can you react with the reaction box if you're on this call? I want to know how many people are active. Okay, so um, I'm Aliyah and I'm a community member, like Abigail said. I'm also in my third year of computer science, and I'll be taking the fundamentals of data cleaning with Python. And I hope by the end of this session, you guys feel more confident about handling data sets and you learn new things. So I believe everybody here has a basic foundation of how Python works and all. Am I right? Can I get some reactions? Okay. What about Adeju Mobi Aisha? Okay. I think it's only Dejo that reacted. Let me share my screen and let's get started. Okay, so basically the main thing we're going to do in this class is I'm going to explain why data cleaning is very important, and we're going to look at what I call the crisp DM framework. I'm going to explain that when we move, and then we're going to explore a data set, and the data set is about the Indian startup ecosystem. And by the time we're done with this, we're going to have a Kahoot session based on what we've learned, if time permits us. So, um, first of all, why is data cleaning important? I think most people really love eating things like chocolate, cake, and all. Just imagine, let's say somebody should prepare cake for you and they prepare it with like expired ingredients or a mislabeled ingredient. Maybe you have a baking powder and the baking powder was mislabeled, or it was not even labeled at all. The data was missing. You could not tell if this is a baking powder or not. So let's say you use ingredients like this to prepare a cake. No matter how great your recipe is, like the cake would not be the same. It's not going to taste good no matter what. And this is similar to data analysis. Whenever you're analyzing your data, you shouldn't work with bad data because your result and the information you analyze is likely to fail. Like you will not get the correct result, and that's why it's essential to clean your data and not work with bad data because it's just like wasting a lot of time. And that's why most data analysts they spend like almost 80% of their time working on cleaning data sets because it really takes a lot of time. I mean, once everything is done, you just figure out how to the information you want to get from your data set, and that's it. But cleaning the whole data set itself is very, very stressful and time consuming. So I would move on to the CRISP DM framework. What does the CRISP DM framework mean? The CRISP DM stands for the Cross Industry Standard Process for Data Mining, and is a widely used approach for data science projects. It gives us a step-by-step guide on how to solve a problem. So the first phase here is the business understanding. This business understanding part, it kind of you have to like know what does your business expect from you. Why are you analyzing this project? What is the main goal? what do you want to get? What results do you want to get after analyzing this project? For example, let's say we have a company now, and we realize that a lot of customers are leaving our company, and we want to see understand why are they leaving our company. Is it because our services are poor? Is it because the other competitors are offering better products and things like that? So you want to understand what is causing customer churn, and before you proceed to your data analysis or clean and everything, you have to understand all these things and what you want to get from your data. The next phase is the data understanding. You have to understand your data. I mean, you can't just start working with something you don't understand. You need to understand what does the features in your data tell you. There are some people, they just see random data, they don't understand what does the column tell us, what does it mean, and they just analyze it that way and they get the wrong interpretation. So it's very necessary to understand your data before you start exploring it or even cleaning it. And then the data preparation phase is where the data cleaning starts. This is where we clean our data, we transform the data into a format suitable for analysis. We do things like handling missing values, remove duplicates, we check if there are outliers in our data, we transform the data types, so many things like that. And we perform different analysis. It kind of makes us understand our data. I think the exploratory data analysis is under the data preparation part. So we have the remaining three. We're not really going to talk about this because we're not doing this modeling, evaluation, and deployment. This is for machine people into that are doing machine learning. When you kind of see how you the models you use for your data, how do you evaluate your models, and then the deployment stage. So we are going to talk about the exploratory data analysis part now. I'm going to share my Jupyter notebook. I'll be using Jupyter notebook to explore the Indian startup ecosystem. So let me stop sharing this. Okay, so like I said, we have to understand what we are doing, business understanding, what problem are we solving. So in this, the problem we'll be solving in this data set is we want to uncover patterns in the Indian startup funding system. So imagine you're an investor looking to fund startups and you need to know sectors that are thriving. Is it the fintech sector? Is it the healthcare sector? How much companies are raising? Like now, if a fintech startup raises like $50 million, it kind of tells us that, oh, this sector has significant demand. And people will be like, okay, maybe when we want to invest into company like this, we should look at the fintech or things like that. Or even if like it can tell an investor that, oh, this business already has enough capital. So they might not really be looking for new investors. So it might be like, okay, let me look at other companies I want to do um investigate and like invest your money in, sorry. So also you might be looking at where these startups are located, and this is very important. Like now, certain cities could have greater chance of succeeding because of their location. I mean, if you look at Lagos and compare it with places like Ife, the companies in Ife are thriving more than places in Lagos. The companies in Lagos are thriving more than places in Ife. So basically, we're just trying to understand the Indian startup ecosystem, and yeah. So data understanding. We are going to be analyzing the 2018 data set, and the data set has the following names. I'm going to load the data during the data preparation stage. We have the company name, the name of the company or the startup. We have the sector of service. Is it fintech, healthcare, edtech? About the company, what does the company offer? What do they do? Description of the company, location of the company, where are they, and the amount raised, the fund raised, and then the round of funding reached. I mean, the round of funding is they're like different rounds. We have seed rounds, we have like it refers to like stages in the funding process where a company raises money from investors to support their operations. So like now the seed funding is usually the first round to kickstart the business. Like to develop products, you seek for funding, and you're going to ask, okay, you need so amount to start this business, and that's they call that the seed round. So we have rounds like that. So we're going to start with the data preparation. And the first thing we do is we load our data during the data preparation, and we're going to import necessary libraries. We're going to import the pandas, and pandas is a tool in Python. It's a Python library that makes it easy to work with tables and organize data for analysis. It makes us manipulate data. Basically, that's the main tool you use when it comes to cleaning of data. We're also going to import our NumPy, and it's also a Python library that helps us do like some mathematical calculations. And yeah, we're also going to import matplotlib, that's for data visualization. So let me proceed with that. And if anybody has question, I can't see people that have questions. Just Abigail, please let me know.
All right, I'll do that.
So this is usually like the standard way people represent pandas, numpy, or matplotlib as. One thing I like to do personally is to set. Let me write it and explain it. So this command here tells the program that it should display all rows of our data frame when we print it. So I want it to, like, you can put 5 as the maximum number, but I put none so that it can show me all the rows. So we're going to run that, and after we're going to import our data. We're going to name it data 18 since we're working with the 2018 data set. To import data, we use the read CSV method. Read CSV. And then you copy the file path. Let me copy the file path from my laptop. Sorry. And then we are going to run it. So this is our data. So to view the first five columns of our data, we're going to use the dot head. This is just kind of letting us see how the data looks like. And we can see the company name, the industry, the round series, the amount, location. By the time we're done with this stuff, we're going to change this name so that it can align with the names here. So the next thing we're going to do is we can create a new variable. Let me just show how to create a new variable. We're going to create a year variable and name it 2018. And let's just, okay, data 18. And then let's see it again. So we have our year here. So what we're going to do is we want to understand our data. We want to see the general information of our data. And what we're going to do is we're going to check it using data.info. So what does this data.info tells us? It gives us a summary of our data frame. It shows us the number of rows. We will have 526 rows in this data. And then it shows us the data types of each column. The company name is in object, the industry is in object, amount, location, about company, and then the year is an integer. And then it also tells us the number of non-null values. So non-null values are kind of like missing values. So numbers that are not missing, I mean. So from this information, you can tell that this data set doesn't have any missing values because we have 526 entries, we have 526 non-null counts. And also, there's a problem with this data. Our amount column is meant to be in a floating point number and is not meant to be a string. So when we are cleaning the data, we're going to see how we convert this amount column into a string. And so when we, okay, let me just, I mean, to confirm if there are no missing values, you can use the isNA function. IsNA is like the number of the missing values. That's isNA, or you can use isNull. So we're going to find the total number of missing values in this. Find the sum, and we can see the company name has 0. But if we don't put this sum, what does this thing gives us? Oops, sorry. So it just gives us false, like are they missing values? No, like that. So instead of having something like this, so what the pd.set options does, it shows us everything. So we're just going to leave it as sum to make it more neater. So we can also look at the number of unique values each column has, and we're going to use the unique method data 18 dot unique. Sorry, dot n unique. So this tells us that there are 405 unique industry names in our data set, and then 525 unique company names, like that. So what we are going to do next is we're going to check the shape of our data. How many columns does it have? How many rows does it have? Without using the data, you can see that the data.info did not tell us the number of columns. So we can use the data.shape to look at that. So this, data 18.shape. So this tells us that our column, we have 7 columns and 526 rows. So now let's kind of get into the analysis part. Let's check whether our data has duplicates. So we're going to use a method called the duplicated. So basically what this tells us, it shows us the values that are that have duplicates. We can see everything here is false, false, false. We don't want something like that. So we can just use the sum to tell us how many duplicates do we have. And we have 1 duplicate in our data set. And that makes sense because maybe that's why we have 525 entry. This is telling us the unique values. So if there is 1 duplicate, it's only going to consider 1 as a unique value. So let us see the rows that are duplicated. So we can do duplicated rows, create a variable, and we're going to call our entire data frame, that's the data 18. And let me copy this. So what this does is, normally by default, duplicated only marks the second and later occurrences of a duplicate as true. Like the way I showed us here before, we can see that 0 and 348 are duplicates. So the first time I didn't put dot sum, you can see that the first value, which is the 0, they gave us an output of false, telling us, oh, it was not. So like now, okay, let me copy this and explain it better. So if you don't put keep false, it's just going to tell us the second occurrence. It's not going to consider the first occurrence. And that's what the duplicated does. Like basically the default mode is keep equals first. So it's not going to tell us whether the first one had a duplicate value. It's just going to consider the second occurrence. So that's why we put keep false to see the duplicated rows. So after that, what we are going to do is we're going to drop duplicates because we don't need to have 2 duplicates. And this is how data cleaning starts. You don't need another data, you have to drop another one that is unnecessary. So we're going to drop that using the drop method. So basically, what this in place equals to true tells us is it kind of modifies the data directly without creating a new one. So if we don't put in place equals true, it's kind of going to it's going to make a new copy of the data frame, and it's not going to make the changes to the main data frame we're working with. So that's why we put in place equals to true to directly change it. And if you don't want to use in place equals to true, you can just use when you remove this, you can just put data underscore 18 equals data 18 dot drop duplicates, and that's it. But anyone is fine. Anyone works.
Alia,
So
there's a question.
okay,
Okay, the person said, I don't really understand the keep false parts. Can you go right again?
okay. So normally by default, when you use the duplicated method, is usually keep equals to false. So let me run this again. Um, I've already made changes here, so I need to rerun this. Sorry. So if I don't put dot sum here and I just run it, we already know that the duplicated values we have in our data set is the one at the 0th index and the 348th index. It's going to pick this as first because it's checking, and this is like the very first value. It's checking, does this one have, is there any copy of this same row? No, that's why you have false. Then the second one is going to check also, is the zero, it knows the information, it will now check, is it same as the second one? No, it goes like that. But the keeps equals to true, what it tells us is that normally, like I said, the duplicated method, it only marks the second and later occurrences of a duplicate row as true. So if you check the 348 one, you see that it selects it as true. And that's because it's the second occurrence of that first duplicate. So by default, it marks it as, it doesn't consider the first occurrence. It only considers the second one because it realizes, oh, this one is similar to something I've checked before. But to stop that and not like make it be like that, you are going to use keep equals to false, because when it sees two duplicates, it's not be like, okay, these two are like, show the two results that are like the same. I don't know if that's clear.
You can carry on, Alia. Thank you.
Okay. So when you check this again, so you can see that we don't have any duplicates in our data again. So now let's look at each columns. We're going to look at the company name. So the way we look at a column is, so this is the first column, and when we run it, you'll see everything like the company name, the details and all. So one thing I realized when I was looking at this data set is there's some there's some names that have their domain name after, like .io, .ltd, we have .com, and we don't need them. We just need the name, the hyperdata, the bizcrom infotech. We don't need the domain name that is coming after. If you keep looking, we have, yeah, .com. I think we also had something like .in. So you have to look at all these things carefully and see, what do I have to change. Yeah, so the way we are going to correct that is, let me write it and then explain it. So basically, you're going to select the company name and you're going to split it after, like when you see full stop, you're going to split it. So this is how it is going to look like. Let me look for an example. So for this body4study.com, when you use the split function, your result is going to look like this. I mean, body 4 and then comma com. So this is how it's going to look like. So this thing is like, you can't use the split function alone. You have to use it with the string method. So this is kind of like a delimiter. It's telling us when you see full stop, split. So for this body 4 study now is going to split this and convert it into a list. So body 4 study, comma, com. And then this str0 selects the first index, and the first index here is 0, the second one is 1. If you put 1 here, the output is going to be com, and you are not going to look at the body 4 study. But because the body 4 study is the company name that we want to it to output, we are going to use the first index, and you are going to use 0 to represent that. I hope that is clear. So let me run that. I just want us to take note of the 329th row so that we can see what happens when we make the changes. Okay. Let me. So 329. So you can see that Arzu, this is now the company name. We've removed the .com. For the body for space 321, that does not exist again. So we've kind of corrected the error. So now that we can't find any error with this company name again, we're going to move on to the industry name. So we're just going to write so this is our industry output. One thing we can see here is that for our industry, we have like multiple sectors, and to make our analysis easier, we're going to be selecting the first one of every industry, and we're going to use something similar to this to do that. So instead of using full stop as the delete what separates the two strings together, we're going to be using comma here. So the like I explained, is going to form a list. We have brand marketing, event promotion, marketing, and then we're going to select the first index, and we're going to proceed with that. So we're going to use a comma here. And we're going to view the data. So now we can see that for the industry column, now we only have the first result. So what we're going to do next is we're going to move on to the, okay, let's even look at what we have here. So we can see something here. We have dash here. And when you say dash, it means this data is missing. So we have dash, dash, dash. We would convert all this dash to not a number, like no, there's no value there. And we're going to use the numpy here. So our data 18, then the industry column. Oops. So we're going to use the replace method to do this. We're going to replace the dash with NaN, and you get that from the NumPy library. And we're going to make that changes to our original data frame by using in place equals to true. So after that, let's view our data industry again. So all this place where we had dash, we have NaN now. You can see this 174. So what we're going to 257, 258. What we're going to do next is we're going to move on to the next column, which is the location column. So let's
There's a question, Alia.
okay.
Okay, it said that what if you wanted to retain both the first and second values after separating it? So the one, I think it was the industry column that
Okay.
they were like different industries, they separated it. So what if you wanted to retain like the first and second word instead of just the first one?
So the reason why it's better to retain like the first one is if you're kind of doing a visualization of the data and you want to see what are the top 10 sectors that have more funding, you cannot really plot brand marketing, comma, maybe marketing, event promotion, comma, fintech. Is not really possible because they are not going to be the same. So you have to like select one. And I think another easier way we can even decide what sector we want to go with is look at the about company. What does it really describe? Although there's no really right answer to do that, but I decided to go with the first one, thinking, okay, maybe the first one is the one they do the most. So that's how I decided. That's why I decided to select just the first one. So we're going to look at the location now. And when you look at the location, you observe that we have like these are cities in this Bengaluru is a city in India, then this is a state and then the country. But we need the location, so we would just be picking the city. We don't need the state, and we're going to use the same function we've been using, which is the the split function. Let me just copy it. So now we've selected just the city names. One thing I noticed when I was analyzing this data is you can see here that we have Bangalore, we have Bengaluru. Like when I was searching online, these two places are the same thing. They're like the same place. Bengaluru is the new name, and Bangalore was the former name. So what we are going to be doing is we're going to be um changing all the Bangalore to Bengaluru to the new name so that we have like a uniform data coming. Sorry. We're going to use the replace also. So now, like if you see here, the first one was Bangalore, and we've changed it to Bengaluru now. So we're going to move on to the round and series data column. So one thing I observed here is, let me first of all check the unique values here. So you can see that we have this form, I mean this link in the data, which is kind of like not a round or series funding stage or anything like that. So we have this link in the data, which is kind of like not a round or series funding stage or anything like that. So we have this So basically, we're changing that to undisclosed, and that's all. So the next data the next column we're going to be viewing is the about column. So basically, the about company is just telling us about the company, like I said. But I noticed something there. We have missing values in the industry column now. When I was looking at the about column, I noticed that there was okay, so we have the industry name for this the industry for this particular role. There was nothing there, and when I checked the about company, I saw ed tech. So then I decided maybe we're going to swap the about company details with that of the industry. That um so we're just going to swap it. Industry now equals to amount about company, and then about company equals to the industry. Okay, so we've done that. Let's see how it looks like now. So you can see now the edutech is in the industry column and then amount has nothing there. So we're going to proceed to the amount column. You know, I said initially that the amount column was in an object form. In this analysis, when we are analyzing it, we're going to change it into a floating point number since we're going to change the data type into a floating point data type. So one thing I noticed with this data set is you can see that there are commas here. And when you want to represent an integer, you have to remove all the commas. And then this currency is the Indian rupee. And then basically this amount column is in dollars. As you can see in the um, description here, I wrote amount in dollars. So anyone that they put an Indian rupee currency behind is not in dollars, but the rest are in dollars. So we have to convert this also. Like after removing the commas, we have to convert this into US dollars, and then um we continue our cleaning from there. So what we're going to do that is we're going to use the apply function. Let me write it and I'll explain how it works. So basically, what this does is it applies a function to each x in the amount column. So everything here is considered as x. So this lambda here function, it processes each value in the amount column, and then it converts each value to a string here, and then it replaces the comma with nothing. So basically this lambda and apply kind of looks at everything in the column and it changes them to a string, because there are some numbers there. You have to just make sure you're right, you have to use string. And that's because if it's not in a string format, this replace function is not going to work. So then you replace the commas with nothing. So and if you now, you can see that we've removed the commas everywhere. There are no commas anymore. And if you look down also, you're going to realize there are some values that have dollars, and we have to remove them because we want to change them into a floating point number. So what we're going to do is we're going to use the strip function. So the way this works is it removes all the occurrences of these dollars from both the start and the end of the string. So let's say we have this value and we also have a dollar after it. It removes all the occurrences of, like, when it sees dollars, it's going to remove it. But let's say if let's say this there was nothing here, there was no argument inside, it removes the white spaces. So if you have like hello world, you have space, 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 hello world, space, 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 and use dot strip, the there's not going to be space afterwards. So it kind of removes the spaces. So but here we're going to remove the dollar. And then let's see what we're going to do next. Okay, I think I don't need to show that again because we already know that it don't exist. So what we're going to do next is for these rupees, the one with rupees, we need to figure out how we're going to remove it and convert it. So what we're going to do is we're going to create a new data frame. Let me call it rupee df. And we're going to use the contain method here. Let me write it and then explain how it works. So what this does is that um wherever it sees this rupee currency, is going to create a new data frame with just the rupee currency. It's not going to consider any other one that doesn't have the rupee currency. So let me show that. So let's see the first 5 columns of the rupee data frame. So now, like I said, it's just going to select all the data frames with rupees. We can say we have 1, 2, 6, 7, 15. So only the ones with rupees is going to gather their information together to analyze it. What we can do is we can we're going to strip it like we did amount for the dollars. So the rupee df. Yeah, so let's see how this looks. Okay, so that means we can say that we don't have the Indian rupee sign after everything has been changed to, it's now like looking like an integer, but we are going to use to, we're just going to change the data type to a floating point number. Okay, I think you wants to ask a question.
Okay, sorry. I kind of noticed that you stripped the rupee symbol, but I got a bit confused. If you strip off the rupee symbol, if I think when I checked there, I saw that there was a mix of rupees and currency amounts in rupees and dollars. So if we strip off the rupee symbol, how do we know which belongs, which column values is for dollar and which
Yeah.
is for rupee? It's for rupee.
Okay,
I think
so
that's my confusion.
all right. So what I did now is, the reason why I created this rupee data frame is because I want to change these rupees to the to USD dollars. So right now here we only have the Indian rupee currencies. I didn't merge the other ones. So when we are done with this, we're going to change it and then we're going to update it back to our normal data. I don't know if that's, do you understand that now? Is that clear?
Oh, okay. Oh, yeah, yeah, I get.
Okay,
Thank you.
you're welcome. So yeah, you would use as type float but to convert it to a floating point number. And you can also use to numeric. To numeric, yeah, like we use to numeric is kind of more robust because sometimes you're not sure whether this thing is going to convert, but I kind of know that it's going to work. So that's I'm using as type. So what we're going to do now is we're going to change the amount to dollars. And when I searched the internet during 2018, the dollar rate was compared to the conversion rate was let me see 2018 was 6. So if we want to convert it, we're just going to divide it by, we're going to divide the in the amount column by this dollar rate, and then we're going to get our new column. So let's do that. Rupee. So if we didn't change this to float, when you do this division, it's not going to work because you cannot divide a string by a floating point number. It's going to give you an error. So because when you divide this, it's going to give us like lot of floating numbers. So to ensure everything is uniform, we're going to use the round function and round it up to 0 decimal places. Let's put comma 0 here. Okay, so now let's view our rupee DF. So this has been changed to the amount. You can see here that the first one was like 40 something. I don't know how many zeros, but it has been changed. So what we're going to do now is we're going to update this to our main data. we're going to update the changes, and we're going to use that. We're going to do that by using the update method. The update PDF. So our changes have been updated. Let's look at our amount column now. So yes, now we can see that we have another issue. We have some dash dash dash, some missing values. So we're going to change this to NaN, and we're going to figure out how we would handle them later. So we're going to use the replace function. So, and after, we're also going to change, basically this has been replaced to NaN, and what we're going to do now is, you can see that the remaining stuff here, we have 15,000, is not uniform, so we're also going to change that to a floating point number. So we'll change the entire column to a floating point number. So yes, we're done. We're kind of done with everything now. What we are going to do is, we're going to rename the remaining columns, and then we're going to view the entire data set. So we're going to rename the industry to sector, the amount to amount in dollars, so that people that see the new data set will know that, oh, this is in dollars. And we're going to change the round or series to stage. So we're going to use the rename method. Okay, so we've made that change. Now let's look at our, now that we've cleaned all the columns, let's look at the general info of our data now. Now we can see that we have 5, then it was, we had 525, 525, there were no missing data, but now we can see that there are missing values now, and that's because we changed some of the dash to NAN and all those things. So what we are going to be doing is remove the we're going to remove the um we're going to sorry, I thought I added a new column here. I don't know why it's not showing. I'm going to check again. So we're going to remove the about company because we don't need it in our analysis. And we're going to look at how we will handle the missing values in our amount column and then in our sector column. So basically, when you want to handle missing values, we can do it in various ways. Sometimes people use machine learning models to predict what would be the output of this, but we are not going to get there with this one. So what we can do is, and sometimes when you have missing values, they drop the columns, but the disadvantage is that sometimes it might be dropping key information. So what I'll be doing here for the sector column is I'm going to replace the missing values with unknown, because I mean that's still safe. You don't know the missing value, so I'll just replace it with unknown. And for the amount column, I'm going to replace it with the median, because usually if you use we don't people you can also use the mean, but reason why people don't use the mean at time is because if there's an outlier, it's not really going to give you a valid So what I'll be doing now is I'll fill the missing values in the sector column with unknown, and then I'll fill the missing values in the amount column with the median. So let me do that now. So what the reason why I use the axis equals to 1 is if you don't specify this, like this axis equals to 1 tells us that we are dropping the column. If you don't specify the axis equals to 1, it's going to give us an error because we don't have a row name that is about, like that the name is about company. So that's why you have to specify the axis equals to 1 when you are dropping columns. And when you want to fill missing values, you use the method fill now. So I'll fill it with unknown and make changes to the data frame. And then for the amount, I'm going to fill it with the median value of the amount column, and then we're going to make in place equals to true. Oh, amounts USD. Okay, so we're kind of done with everything. So I want to talk about the dot describe method. So what the dot describe tells us is it gives us like a summary of the numerical columns in our data set. I added a year column. I don't know why it's not reflecting now, but I'm going to check again. Maybe I'll have to rerun my kernel. So it tells us the count, this 5.25 exponential Teriswat, so that's 525. Then it tells us the mean value is this, the standard deviation. And when you look at this, you can kind of figure out, are there outliers in your data? So the dot describe tells us if there's an outlier in our data. And how does he do that? We can um we can compare the mean and the median value, the mean value and the median, that's the 50th percentile. And if the difference is very, very large, it kind of tells us that, oh, this data might have outliers because it's not meant to be so large. And you can also do, for those of us that have done statistics or even in secondary school, interquartile range, when you compare, check if your maximum value and minimum values. Okay, you can check if your minimum values and maximum values are very far from the interquartile range. And the way you calculate your interquartile range is your Q3, which is the 0.75 percentile, and minus the first one. And you can just kind of, the dot to describe kind of tells us if we have outliers in our data set. So that's everything. I mean, I think we're kind of done with everything now, but let me just summarize it with one interesting thing. So after analyzing our whole the whole data set now, let's and see in top 10 cities with the highest funding. So which city receives the most fund? And after that, we are going to go to our Kahoot session. And if there are any questions, I'll be asking, you guys can ask after. So let's say city funding. Code here, so it kind of looks at the unique locations, gives the total amount beside, and yeah, so that's what this does. Then let's now look for the top 10 because we want to look at the top 10 cities. So we're going to use, let me say, top 10 cities. So basically, this n largest returns the top n values. So I wrote 10 inside, it's going to return the top 10 values. And let's print the result out. Print top 10 cities. Oops. So we can see that the first city with the most funding is Bengaluru, followed by Mumbai, and that's how it goes. So what we can do now is we can just do a quick visualization. Let's use matplotlib. So plt.figure kind of creates the box where our diagram is going to be plotted, and figure usually 10 to 6, and then okay, then we're going to let's use a horizontal bar chart here. Bar chart, bar h to specify its horizontal. Top 10 cities. So the y index here is usually, when we have a function like this, we always have x, y, but because we're kind of dealing with the horizontal bar chart, it's going to be the y-x. So we're going to write the index. The index is this. We want the location to be on the y-axis, and then the values will be on the x-axis. So top 10 cities dot index, and then dot values, and let's use a sky blue color. So also let's add a title to our plot. plt.title, we can name it top 10 cities by funding amount, and then we'll name our x label, plt.x label, the total funding, and then let's make the while label city. And then we show our plots. So yes, here we go. We can see that Bengaluru has the most funding amount, followed by Mumbai, upwards like that. So that is it for this session. Does anyone have any question, or can we proceed to our quiz session, like our Kahoot session? I hope you guys understood what I took today. Can I get some reaction? How was the meeting? Okay,
Hello,
great.
everyone. Good evening. Thank you so much, Aliyah, for the session. Does anyone have any questions? I think you were asking if anyone has any questions earlier.
Okay, so let's have a quick Kahoot session then. You guys can go to Kahoot. Let me stop sharing my screen. I'm going to drop the game pin, and let's see what we've learned so far here. Yeah, so I sent the pin to the class. I'll be waiting for people to join. It's just a quiz to see if you guys understood what was taken here.
Earlier, it's like we're having issues connecting to. It's saying something that the pin is not recognized.
Oh, okay, let me check it out. Sorry. Okay, I'll send another link. Okay. Okay, I've sent it. Let's wait for like 1 more minute for others to join. So has most people joined? Okay, I should send it again. Yeah, I've sent it. Okay, so let's start the Kahoot session. Let me send it again for those joining. Okay, I think we're plenty now. So let's start. Nice. Seems everyone got that one. Okay. Wow. 5 people. Great. Great. Okay. So data frame true or false was the answer. Leo is leading. Okay. Six questions to go. 3 questions to go. Okay, so we are done with our quiz session. I hope you guys enjoyed the session. Congratulations to Leo. You were the first position, and Q and Adejuwon was third. Does anyone have any question from the Kahoot session? Maybe something you're not really sure of. And I hope you enjoyed this session in general too. All right, great. Thank you very much. So we are done for today. What's the prize? Is that Leo? Oh yeah, now. I'll send a message. I'll give you something. I'll send a message on the data community Unilag, and then I'll give you your present. Okay. All right. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you so much, guys. If anybody has any questions, you can ask on the community group chat, and Aliyah will get back to you. Our time is fast spent, but thank you everyone for joining this workshop. We hope to see you all again for our next event. Thank you, guys.